Hello, my name's Alex. I'm going to start making YouTube videos. Just some paintings and some drawings. See how it goes. I don't really know how I'm going to do it. I'm recording it with iMovie and then doing a voiceover afterwards, so I've got to fill 15 minutes of talking, which might be a struggle, so if there's any awkward moments, just, ignore them. So today, this is done yesterday, I started painting a raven. Don't know why I painted it, but birds pretty cool to draw. Something I'm not that used to either. I didn't normally draw bears or tigers or something like that. So it was cool to draw a raven, because it takes a bit more patience when you try and do all your feathers. Quite difficult to do, to be honest. It's more patience than difficulty though. I'm using gouache, which I've never really done before. I've played about with it and I found it quite difficult, to be honest, but I thought I'd try using it now and do an actual painting. Normally I do watercolours, so it's a similar sort of process, but gouache is it's an opaque medium rather than transparent, so when you can layer it over again and again, like you do with acrylics and oils, and make sure to still show the top colour because it's opaque, whereas on watercolours it's transparent and you can see through it. I'm painting it in a moleskin sketchbook, just a standard moleskin. When I was playing about with gouache before, the paper I used watercolour paper, and I think it worked. Well, it didn't work basically. I think the paper absorbed it a bit too much, so I didn't get the same opacity of the same paint. Or it could be that I was using it wrong. Like I said, I don't really know how to use it. I thought I'd just play about. But I actually really enjoyed it. I don't like trying new mediums, because when I'm good with one, I like just carrying on using that, because I know I can get a good result and feel good about myself. Without being disappointed. So I'm painting a raven. It came out pretty well. Struggling to film these 15 minutes now. It feels very unnatural I'm talking to my phone whilst I'm watching it, which is a bit weird, to be honest. So I thought putting a red background, because I wanted to make it pop with the black with raven. I thought if I can get some blue in there rather than having it just black, it will just make it a bit more interesting. It makes it pop out a bit. So I started painting roughly in blues, because when I was learning, I think it was in A-level, we had to do oil paintings, and I actually didn't like this technique, but my teacher made us all paint it do a blue underpainting, so everything is a shade of blue. I personally didn't like it. I wanted to just get in with all the colours, and it seemed pointless painting the same painting twice. Not really practical at all. But it kind of works when you're using the blue, so I could have it so it still showed through. So it wasn't just to get the tones right, it was to get some colour down so it's not just black and dull and boring, which makes it pop out a bit. I can't actually remember which colours I used. I think it was primary red for the background, ultramarine, and possibly primary blue, but I'm not sure. And then ivory black, and I think it's called Chinese whites. I don't really know the colours by the names. I generally just pick them out based on the colour of them. But yeah, I think that was roughly it. Not like Bob Ross. So I painted all. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so I painted it blue with a highlight, so I roughly know where the highlights are. Always a good start. They always tell you to paint with watercolours. Always start off light and move to dark. I like to go a bit of both, to be honest. I like to swap it up a bit. When I paint light, I feel like the painting's not moving on the same way. When I can put the light in the dark, it feels like I'm making more progress. So I don't feel so. I don't feel like I'm not. I like to feel like I'm moving on. I'm not stuck. When I'm stuck, that's when I get a bit bored. So I put the highlights down, I like to put the shadows down, just so I know where I am. So then I've started painting the actual raven, and now the image of raven I use is fantastic in terms of lighting. It's quite dark at the back, but then it's really light where the sun hits it. But that made it really interesting for me to paint, because it meant I could work with a lot of contrast and whatnot. And I don't know, it's talking 15 minutes about your painting is a bit unusual. It doesn't feel natural at the moment. I'll have to work on it. One of the things you can see now is that my face keeps blocking the painting. That's because I have it's like an arm. You click to your desk and then click to your phone and it bends over. So it works well for filming, but the issue is I've got like a massive crane in front of my face when I'm painting, and it's a bit obstructing really. So the only way I can paint fine details is if I lean forward and lean in front of the camera. So it's not overly practical in terms of that. So at some point I'm going to get a small easel, just so then it's leaned up, so I shouldn't have to obstruct the video so much, because I keep sticking my head in. Fun fact, my head's massive, so it takes up pretty much a whole camera. I've got a massive head. Yep. Throw that out there in my third video. So the painting's starting to come along now. There you can see my reference image. So I started adding just a few highlights just so I know what's going on, where it needs to be light. Because once you have to be careful with being opaque when you painting it, and when you're painting it and you're covering up all your lines where you've drawn, it's hard to remember sometimes which bits were actually the light and which were the dark, and you kind of lose your form sometimes if you're not careful. So I like to always keep my highlights in, even if it's before it's finished, keep it in a highlight there just so I can see the form, so I still know where I'm going. Like I said, the hardest part's the feathers on the front of the neck really. When I was looking at ravens, I did a few studies of them before I started this painting. They have quite it's almost like a mane or something. They have like a I don't know what you'd call it, a crest. They have quite long feathers on the front of the neck, which stick out a lot more. Makes them really interesting to draw, but makes the drawing actually a lot more complex as well. So I normally simplify it quite a bit, but I thought I'd lose a lot of the texture if I simplified the feathers on that one. So now I'm painting the beak. The beak was a bit more difficult because it was shiny. It was difficult for me to represent the shine in my painting, so I was trying to mix up with the highlights and the darks, but it didn't come across quite how I expected. Then I started filling out the rest of the dark feathers. Hopefully that starts going well. And then what was I going to do? At some point I decided to fill in that bottom right corner as well. Originally I was going to leave it blank because I thought it looked okay, but then it kind of looked a bit weird. Once I've painted everything else to have this corner missing, it just looked incomplete. So I've gone back to the highlights, I think it is, and now filling in more of the feathers, which is the main gap. There we go, filling them in now. So with these, it wasn't quite how it was meant to be on the photo, but it was just roughly guessing where the light would catch it, which ones would stick out and which ones would be in the shadow. for my first time using gouache, I really enjoyed it, to be honest. Really enjoyed it. It's not often recently. I've been having a bit of an art block recently. Just a few things. I've not really drawn or painted in probably about 2 months. I did some commissions over Christmas before, and I took too many on. I kind of burnt myself out. So I've not really been painting or drawing anything for quite a while. Longer than I've probably ever been recently. So getting back into it and actually doing something well, I'm pleased with the result. That's a good feeling. Hopefully I'll keep carrying on with my gouache, and I'll start making progress, and it'll start coming together, start getting more of my work online, and hopefully I can start doing some of my artwork. So here I'm just picking out a few details. I don't want to go too much because the lighting isn't actually catching the raven at that part, so I'll paint it down and then kind of knock it back a bit again, just so it doesn't stand out too much. But I want to get some texture in there from all the different feathers. In a second you'll see if I knock it back again. I've just gone over it with, I think that's for ultramarine maybe, or I don't know, pale blue anyway. This painting I also wanted to be a bit more loose from what I normally do. I used to be obsessed with trying to represent every little bit of detail. I'd sit there for like 10 hours with a pencil drawing every hair. And to be honest, you get a more interesting painting and drawing if you just simplify it and get the gist of it. So that's what I've been trying to do with this, and gouache is really good for that as well, because you can layer over the top of it. You've got, even once you commit, you can still change it, so it's not a big deal. So I try to be a bit loose because I like it when people use gouache. I think it's similar to like when people use oil paintings, they use a palette knife. I think sometimes it looks good when you've just got like a block shape. So you simplify the delicate lighting and then you just make it into like just a single brush stroke, and it ends up looking really good, and it changes your point of interest, so it doesn't take too much attention away from the actual focus point. I don't know what's going on now. There we go. Now I start filling in that back corner. This actually at first it was too dark. They always tell you to be careful with black. Always be careful using black or any dark colours. It kind of drains the painting and takes away from what you want people to look at. It's like a void. So then I started adding some pale blue lighting over the top, and like I was on about with the simple lighting, just like a square brush over the top of a wing, and just make it stand out a bit more. That actually worked really well. Really happy with that. I don't know how much longer is left. Struggling to talk about it all, to be honest. I kind of paint, I don't like talking about work. I'm a bit self-conscious, to be honest. I'll have to find some music or something I can put on, just so there's not just weird awkward pauses from me. So I'm just finalising all the little feathers and all the details. I still didn't quite get the highlight I wanted on the beak. I think I probably need to wait for the gouache to dry a bit more, so I could really get a really pale white highlight on there. But it will do. Just picking out and knocking, I knock back a lot of the highlights, and you also have to pick out your details and whatnot. And then I signed it, and it's all done. Right, that's the end of my video. I'm recording this as a separate bit. I don't really know how to make videos yet, so I'm just playing about. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you found it relatively interesting. It was 15 minutes of me rambling, really, trying to fill the air. I don't really know what I'm doing, to be honest, but here's the final painting. and hopefully I'll get some more videos up at some point. Alright, thanks for watching.